welcome to my first review on my channel about movies. Today, guys, I want to talk to you about one of my favorite horrors of the last years, and specifically about Exhuma, or yes, I hope I am pronouncing it correctly, from 2024, which is a South Korean movie. And it's part of the South Korean new wave of horror. Very good. And I'll try to avoid spoilers in this review, although not totally. So if you haven't watched it, you should definitely do. And if you came here wondering if it is worth watching, my answer is definitely yes. You should give it a try, regardless on which platform you'll find it. So let's proceed, and by stating that a lot of people have compared it to another horror movie from 2016, which is superior in my opinion, and I'm talking about The Wailing, which is a very interesting movie, very well made, with scrupulous attention to details, and it's just perfect. The script has one idea, one note that's carried over during all the film. However, Exhuma, although also a notable watch, has some flaws, but these flaws are also characteristic to Asian cinema in general, or at least the new movies that I'd watch. And what I mean by that is the fact that they tend to mix the genre, and in one story they can mix a lot of things in a very unusual way, and we usually don't do that in the West, and that's either a good or a bad thing depending on our taste. To me, I try to accept it, but you have to be warned that it might feel convoluted, and I think that's a trait of his style, of this director's style, whose name I forgot now, but it doesn't matter anyway, because the facts are the facts and my ideas remain unfaltering. So, first of all, it's regarding, it's a sort of exorcism movie, but a modern version of it. And it's very interesting to see how they mix and they exploit the cultural references to shamanism, to different gods, how they incorporate all these mythological things into a new modern setting. And that's very original and very interesting, and especially to me, and I suppose to you guys as foreigners, you might be very captivated by this new way, by this new mythology, which seems alien. And there are a couple of things that stand out from our Western tradition of scary movies. First of all, I paid attention to the fact that the special effects are not overdone, and they are used sparingly, but very intentionally. You might also feel like the movie isn't spooky enough because of that. But the thing is that it is relies on atmosphere, and you get scared by what it is suggested, not shown. You know, it relies a lot on atmosphere, at least in the first half. But on its atmosphere, which is enforced by the extraordinary sound design. And yeah, that's one aspect. Another thing that I want to point out is the way in which they depict demons. You know, they don't rely on that usual Western style, which is a lot of special effects, which are very powerful, and they are kind of reminding of corpses. You know, usually the demons are symbolized by people whose body is in a decaying state. You know, even it doesn't matter. The devils are also depicted in unusual way, but not in Asian cinema. And here is the same. At least in the beginning, we already get a glimpse of overworldly beings, and they are very similar to us, you know, and that's you know, a subtle way to point out that the evil is within, you know. I don't know if you played the game, but there is a popular horror game called The Evil Within. So that's also interesting to point out. And I was also impressed by the fact that in the second half of the movie, there is a demon which is called Anima, and it's a sort of different kind of, not a regular demon. It's a spirit who has been tied up to an object, so he has a physical form, which in reality makes him real. So it's a sort of anima, that's how they call it. But anima in Latin means spirit. But in contrary to what usually happens with spirit, who do not have shadow, and they cannot be seen a lot of times in the mirror, or they only are seen in the mirror. Here in the second half, there is a sort of samurai, very scary and very dreary, who also can transform into fire, and when he wants to travel. And I liked very much the fact that when he does that, the flames are not something unusual, you know, like those depicting hell or explosions, but it's just a regular fireball, a big, as if someone just inflamed a gas leak, a huge gas leak, yes, and you have this sort of ball, you know, flaming ball, and that's very cool. It looks like very believable, and I also liked it. But in general, the movie feels like two different parts, you know. There's a second part, and then the first and the second one, and that also might depend on your taste. I liked it, and I thought that the script was very good, very original, but they don't follow that coherent line popularized by our Western cinema, you know. With such movies like The Exorcist from 1973, which is very focused. And well, as I mentioned earlier, that's a common flaw to some Asian movies, because I've seen more that seem to suffer from the same disease. But I think that's also an attempt to discover something new, and I think we should encourage it, although we might not like it. And yeah, there is also, the characters are also interesting in very well way, but I don't want to delve into it because I'm gonna have to use a lot of spoilers, and don't wanna do it. I think it's worth watching, and it's very captivating, despite the fact that it doesn't match the beauty of the whaling, which I think is a masterpiece, and very good and very well focused. But still, it's a worth watch, and if you are tired of our regular Western movies with their usual depiction of supernatural effects and beings, I think the Exhuma, which is a cool name by the way, I think, is worth watching. And if you want to learn more about this movie, you can check my movie blog. Thank you.